Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nitty Gritty to Balance podcast. I'm your host, Abigail, and joining us each episode is my mom, Stacy, a holistic health coach and intuitive. Each week, we discuss topics through the lens of her work and subspecialties to bring to light the balance in the everyday. So with that, let's bring in the brains behind the balance and get this episode started.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. Today is a conversation that I feel like we've alluded to for a while now, and it's fun that we're actually sitting down to record this episode. Feels like finally we're sitting down to record this episode. We've been talking about it just between the two of us for several episodes now, and it was like, all right, we just gotta do it. We just gotta do it. We're excited to be finally recording this episode. It's going to be a fun discussion. And in today's episode, we are dissecting the energetics, the health, and the deeper responsibilities of our pets. Yeah. Today's episode, I feel like, is kind of going to be centered around dogs and cats, I would say. Just like the most part. Yeah, just as they're, the most common pets, you could say. But really, this episode applies to all the animals out there,
domestic and wild.
Yes. Yep. I think we'll probably touch a little bit on horses, some birds, some wild birds and the bees. So keep that in mind. Today, this episode really applies to all of our animals out there. So if you're someone that lives on a farm and you have a donkey or you have a goat, this episode applies to them too.
Absolutely. Snake.
If you have reptiles. I was going to say that. Yes, reptiles. I know lots of people in my personal life that have reptiles as pets. Personally, I would never have one. But I do know quite a few people. Yeah. But we're hoping to bring a lot of new information to our listeners, which is why this is a fun episode, and really kind of bring this new perspective of our animals to light, which is our whole goal here. We hope you enjoy today's topic as much as we do. Yeah. I guess let's get into it. So I want to kind of start the episode by talking about the health of our pets. I think that's a great place to start, a great foundation to start as well. And I kind of wanted to kick off this discussion around kind of the culture shift that personally I feel like has happened within the last, I want to say since around 2019, 2020, that I feel like this has really started to happen, where people are taking their pets' health more serious. And I think we're seeing that a lot with, different dog foods coming out onto the market. And those healthier dog foods are also pivoting to cat food as well. And it's just offering our pets a more balanced diet. And we'll get into quite a bit about diet. But something that really sticks out to me is pet insurance. Is something that I feel like lots of pet owners these days have or have considered. And it just shows me that people are a lot more invested into their pet's health than before.
Yeah, they almost maybe see it as more of a responsibility.
Right. Yeah. And ensuring that their pets are taken care of, if anything were to happen, they have this insurance, this peace of mind. And I think it's great.
Yeah.
Another thing too, there's so many dog walking services. Now, those have been around for a long time, but I think people that are away from their homes for majority of the day, majority of the weeks, they still are considering their pets and not wanting them to be locked up inside all day. They want them to be outside and to have a little bit of exercise. And I think even that too, people are taking more seriously about their pets' health and well-being overall.
Yeah, investing a bit more in that. And what also comes to mind with that is the video cameras of the house. That's so true. The owners can watch their pets and they can interact with their pets. They can talk to them through the cameras, the microphone. And then even, you see the videos of people that have the buttons that literally try to communicate with their pet and the pet communicate with them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's becoming a little bit more, I don't know about common, but you see that.
Yes, that's really funny. That's a really good point. And you bringing up the cameras actually just reminded me too, and this is so funny. We got a automatic cat feeder. I think it was around Christmas time we got this. And it has a feature on there that you can record a message for when it's dispensing food. So you can, in your voice, you can say like, kitties come eat or something, some type of audio from you to tell them that it's time to come eat. And I think that's, that video camera piece reminded me of that, which is so funny. But yes, we are investing so much more with our pets. I mean, they really are parts of our family now.
Yeah, they're not so much the dog that's in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah, people really.
Well, those are still out there.
Yeah,
Unfortunately.
they are. And there's, maybe almost when we get into the energetics of it, maybe we can touch on that. But there are reasons for
That's true. That is true. Well, kind of sticking with pet health, I kind of spoke about it already briefly, but I feel like our pets' diets are changing slowly but surely. There's healthier options out there now. There's fresher options out there now. But I do want to talk about kind of cat foods and dog foods specifically and the older style dry kibble. I kind of want to talk about some of the ingredients that are in those because it has just been so widely understood that you just go to the pet store, you buy this dry kibble, you pour it in a bowl, and it can sit out for however long, and they just, whenever they want. But it's actually very bad food for them.
Yes, in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I wanted to talk specifically about, if you've ever read the ingredients on,
Hopefully, people are doing that.
I mean, I remember for a long time, I didn't even think about reading the ingredients for what we were feeding our pet.
Sure.
It's just, you go to the store and you see this bag of dog food and you pick the flavor.
You pick what might be in it, and same with treats.
Yeah.
You just kind of look at the picture, you look at the front, you look at how they're advertising it to you.
Yeah.
Not really picking up on their gimmick.
Yes. But if you are to read the ingredients in the majority of these kibbles, you'll see chicken meal.
You'll see a lot of meals.
Lots of meals.
And so product.
And so if someone's seeing chicken meal in their ingredients for their dogs, what does chicken meal typically consist of?
So, yeah, it's whatever the meal, that word is attached to. So whether it's chicken or turkey or fish or whatever, basically that is all the leftovers. It could be the bones, it could be the skin, it can be the feathers.
Yeah.
Which is typically when you're talking about a bird type meal in the ingredient list, a lot of the foods are using those just extra scraps.
Yeah.
Yes. And you will often see that as a second or third ingredient.
Yes, ever since I learned that chicken meal or turkey meal, majority of the time is going to consist of feathers, I could not look at dry kibble the same ever again.
Yeah.
And
product is kind of along the same line. You will see, fish product or turkey product, and that's basically along the same line. I almost think of a hot dog. It's all those pieces that they
need to turn into something.
Yes, and they can't necessarily individually label it.
Right.
It's just these leftovers that they're just going to pulverize and just use basically as a filler. But not that there's really any nutritional value to it. It's going to be a filler.
Yeah. So just hearing that, if chicken meal is your first or second ingredient in your pet's food, then the first or second ingredient in their food is just filler. It's not actual nutrient. It's not actual food that is sustaining them.
And that's really sad that you're paying for, because pet food is so expensive. Really. And so it's important to look at their ingredients, just as it is what we've talked about in a lot of our podcasts. It's as important as looking at our ingredients of what we're eating. The pets are no different. They are putting in all of these fillers, thickeners, emulsifiers, and a lot of times you will find them right up there with the main ingredient. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is kind of our whole message too, right? We really want to take care of and nourish our bodies in all of these ways. And we want to put forward the message that it is just as important for our pets as well. And again, like I said, I had never really thought about reading the ingredients in my dog's food. But why? Why did I not think that that was just as important as reading the ingredients on something that I'm eating as well?
Yeah. And it's also important, again, just like with the people food, in the pet industry, is to trust your brand, because there's been major issues with even the meat that some of these brands use, with easily growing bacteria that kills pets. But then the other major one is where these companies are sourcing their protein from. And sadly, they get a lot of this protein from euthanized animals. The euthanized horses, a lot of it's horse protein. And even heard and read certain articles where it can even be dog and cat protein.
Yeah.
That have been euthanized. And so this meat, this protein, is contaminated. And there are many reports of animals getting sick, dying because of this meat that has been contaminated because it has been.
Yes. Yeah. That's such a disturbing thought.
Yeah.
But the fact that, it's out there, feels pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's disheartening to know that most people want to do good by their pet. They want their pet around for as long as possible to enjoy them and have them healthy. But to know and to understand that food is just not created equal, just like in the human, food industry. It's the same with the pet industry. It is a $1 billion market.
Yeah.
And what they're marketing on the front is not most of the time what you're getting on the back.
Yeah. Yep. Our pets' products are just like our products. It's sold to us strictly by marketing.
Yeah.
And we have to dig a little deeper. We have to look a little bit deeper than what's just on the front of the package. Definitely. And I think that's our main point here with this. But another thing too is just common health issues that our pets are having. And I say common because I feel like they are so common in household pets that
Becoming,
people
think that they're just normal. Obesity.
It's
huge one. Cats, dogs, horses. I mean, you name it.
Yeah, obesity is a huge one for our household pets. An interesting one to me is I like tear stains on dogs' faces, and even, constant licking of their paws, stained paws,
Right.
dirty ears, these things that we kind of tend to overlook, and kind of what each of those maybe are pointing to. I think let's touch first on like the tear stains on dogs' faces.
Sure. Ultimately, it is not just a breed thing. And I know this firsthand. I not really going to say experimented, but I saw the transitions with my own pet as I learned more about nutrition and changed their diet. And as it changed over the years, I knew I was doing good when my little dog's tear stains would go away. And as soon as they would come back, I would know, oh, something's changed. I'm feeding something that is toxic. And that is what the tear stains are that I know for sure in my dog what they were from. It was the toxicity that was in the food that I was giving.
Interesting. So it is just like this, the body kind of trying to purge these toxins.
Yes.
Is typically where you may see dogs with tear stains.
Yeah.
And yeah, kind of what you said just a moment ago, people assume this to be a breed specific issue or aspect, but it's not. It directly correlates most often to their diets.
Yes.
I think that, yeah, especially having a dog growing up that is a typical dog that you will generally see tear stains on. For the longest time, we thought it was just normal. That is how the breed is.
Yeah, just clean their eyes and just try and keep them as clean as possible. But that's just the breed.
That's just how they are. But the fact that, yes, you were able to clear up those tear stains and you were able to see that, you got to see firsthand how you were able to help.
Yeah. And it would take a couple months, 2 to 3 months, for it to clear up when I was feeding him what was beneficial for him. But as soon as I would try and switch onto something else or add even a little something different to the diet, within weeks, it would be back.
Yeah.
But it would take 2 or 3 months to clear out.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. I remember that. Mm-hmm. And then even seeing dogs too that are constantly licking their paws, or they're having kind of that dark brown, like reddish stain on their paws. What is that typically pointing to?
For me, in what I know now, I want to say, and I probably should have kind of at the very beginning, is that none of this is recommendations or advice. It's just knowledge. It's just what we have learned through our pets, what I have learned through a lot of reading and my own education. But I worked in the veterinary field for almost 7 years. I did day practice for almost 2 years. And then I worked in emergency medicine as a technician at an animal emergency clinic and did that for almost 5 years. So I've got some background here. So with that prefaced, we are not giving advice, just bringing in a new perspective, something that maybe somebody hasn't thought about, just to start considering and doing some research for yourself and what you're seeing with your pet. But what I believe, licking the paws, now you can certainly have outside allergens. You can have inside allergens. They could be allergic to the chemicals that are in the carpets, the rugs.
Interesting.
If you're using possibly, carpet deodorizers or anything like that, they can absolutely have reactions to that. But just as they can develop the yeast in the ears, they've got the toxicities possibly draining out of the eyes, their mouth, their oral health is also not necessarily going to be healthy.
Right.
And so if they're constantly licking their paws, that bacteria that they may be making wounds, they may be, licking their skin a little bit raw, that bacteria is then going to transfer to their paws. And it's just almost this vicious cycle.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Even like chewing on the paws, constantly licking the paws. Yeah, it's just kind of causing that irritation constantly. And it just kind of builds on itself. And then it just,
The skin allergies, the constant chewing.
yeah. And we have had, I mean, I can't even count how many animals we had growing up. And before really, you know, expanding our knowledge and our pets' health and changing things, we had lots of animals that had these allergies or that had these toxins that were showing themselves and just not totally knowing what was going on.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, it's kind of just this whole picture. Everything kind of ties into each other. And yeah, we want to spread the message of just really kind of taking a closer look at your pets and really kind of investigating and seeing what may be going on for them.
Yeah, and I just want to bring in here that this all kind of came about when I started paying attention to our health for, certain reasons, and really started diving into research and learning and understanding food and ingredients and medicine and all of that. And it was several years probably into all of that education that it was just this aha moment of, well, if I'm doing this for me, then what about my pet?
Yeah.
And what really sparked that, I'm remembering now, what really sparked that was that I was at the keto diet and I was relearning how to eat and the benefit of fresh food and fresh, protein and fresh fruits and veggies. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm eating this fresh protein and but that's a dog's diet.
Right.
Why is he getting dry kibble? And that propelled me down into learning about pet health, going to a raw conference and really learning more holistic care and nutrition for pets.
Yeah.
And so then that just brought me down that path as well. And realizing just how important that is as well.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and that kind of leads us kind of to our next point too, is that eventually catching on to all of these, ailments that our pets were having and you coming to the realization that it's not just us that we need to focus on. It is also our pets. That did really propel you into learning just about as much as you could at the time about cleaner diets for our pets, which ultimately led you down the route of raw diets, specifically for our dogs and for our cats too. We fed them raw diet as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about now kind of the early stages of pivoting our dogs onto the raw diet, what that consisted of, and yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. I think if I remember correctly that we pretty much just switched them.
That is what I remember too.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's two sides out there. There's the side that says no, you need to switch them slowly because of the gut bacteria and it wouldn't be a shock just to start feeding them raw. And absolutely, you just need to know your pet and their sensitivities. I believe had pretty hardy dogs. They're farm dogs. They eat stuff out in the yard all the time. So I was like, nope, you're getting switched.
Yeah.
And so we just did it. And I just started buying the raw foods and making their dishes every day, twice a day. We had 3 dogs at that time.
Yes, we had a dog that had a very bad injury as a puppy, so he had lots of joint issues. He was also one that struggled with constant licking of the paws and weight, and he also struggled with yeast infections, flare-ups in the ears. He dealt with a lot.
Yes.
And it was him that really kind of sparked you into wanting to help him in a different way. But then we also had that dog that had the tear stain issue. A little daughter, little Frenchie. Yeah. And then we had a big dog, but she was so kind of a puppy when we swapped her. So we had 3 very different dogs. They were very different ages, different sizes, different breeds. And so it was fun to just switch them and see how they all adapted to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did. We stopped with the kibble and we started with the raw diet. So where would you buy the food for them? How would you go about shopping for them?
Yeah, it was, I would do grocery store shopping and I would do meat market shopping. And I believe I was doing meat market for the soup bones. I would make the bone broth and then I would just try and buy, variety of foods. We were also shopping at the meat markets for ourselves. We were bringing a lot of protein into the house from the meat market. So it was already a trip that I was making. And I was like, oh, well, let me see what I can get for the dogs. And even just the bones that I could throw out in the yard and they could just go naturally chew on for gum health. But then they would also be getting the bone marrow out of there. So I get that extra benefit. But then the grocery store too. So I would get organ meat from the grocery store. And then a lot of their proteins, from that as well.
We didn't really do much beef, right? It was mostly chicken, or am I wrong?
Yeah, no, we did beef, pork, turkey, and chicken.
And fish. Fish was a big one too.
Fish, we did, yes.
We did a lot of canned fish.
Yes, the mackerel and sardines.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then we would add in canned pumpkin. What were some spices you were adding in there?
Yeah, we always did. I would do my little spice concoction that I would throw into their carb, but they would get cinnamon, ginger, salt was big. I had to make sure that I was supplementing them with their salt.
Yeah.
What else? I would throw in their parsley. I would throw in cilantro for deworming. Yeah, really, bell peppers. They got a lot of bell peppers. And that I would blend up. So I would pick kind of their veggies and their fruit, a lot of blueberries, I think some raspberries, but a lot of blueberries. Those were just easy. They liked them.
Yeah.
There were certain things that they didn't like. They didn't necessarily love spinach. So anytime I would use spinach, I would have to really put in a lot of other yummy things in there to help them eat it. They loved the squashes, the zucchini and squash. They loved those. Love the pumpkin.
We would throw in some raw eggs.
Oh, yeah. Raw eggs with the shells. Yes. Raw eggs. Yep.
Yeah.
With the shells. And then a lot of the meats we would do bone in. So there's a bit of learning curve with that. You always want to make sure that it's a soft bone. So it would be the neck bones, rib bones, tail bones. And then, chicken, for the most part, all those bones are easy. They can chew those up and digest those just fine. They need to be raw, not cooked.
Right.
That's where you get into trouble is, feeding them the cooked bones. You can have complications from that. So it was always raw. We did not cook our food at all for them.
And isn't there a specific animal bone that they can't have? Or that they shouldn't have?
I don't know if there's a specific one that I can recall, but I know it's the hard bones you just have to be very careful with. I mean, they can go out in the yard and chew on that, but that isn't something that you would want to put in their dish and expect them to eat.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So anytime we were doing beef or pork, I just had to really pay attention to, if it was pork rib meat or, with the rib bone, thinly sliced, I would throw that in their dish, no problem. But any big, thick bones, no, I would just have to get, just the ground meat or chunks of meat or whatever.
Right.
And then portion it out to the size of the pet. So their carb had to be portioned out, their protein had to be portioned out.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember it was just this big It was an event every day, twice a day. You were in the kitchen pulling out the dog's food, and we would allow the meat to come to room temperature before we fed it. It wasn't cold out of the refrigerator. We would let it sit out and come to room temperature for them, easier on their digestion.
That's what they would normally eat, would be, something that would be outside. It's not going to be refrigerated. So yeah, that would be natural to them.
But I remember their bowls just being so beautiful. You have their meat, you have their carb, you have, an array of spices and the salt and, a nice egg on top. Oh, and they were, or chicken feet. Yeah. Sometimes you would spice it up. You would put something, you would give them something special, every once in a while. And man, they loved it. They did. They loved it. They were, when you were putting their bowls together, they would just sit there and just wait so patiently. They're just drooling, waiting for their,
But excited to eat.
so excited to eat. And that's a really good point too. A lot of these dogs may not be interested in eating. You may pour the food in their bowl and they're like, yeah, okay, I'll come back when I feel like it. But every single one of our dogs on the raw diet would not leave their bowl until that food was gone.
Every once in a while, they would maybe leave part of the card, right? Sometimes they liked it, wouldn't necessarily completely like it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny when you kind of snack something new in there that they maybe weren't fans of. They would eat around it.
Yeah.
But it would tell you, okay,
That's right. And I need to change it up.
they're letting you know, thank you so much. This was delicious. Except next time you could leave this out.
Leave out the spinach.
Yes. That's so funny.
Yeah, carrots. They love the carrots. They love the peppers. They love the zucchini.
Yeah.
They love the parsley, the cilantro. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. I mean, I would just try and mix it up just like ours because they need that variety.
Right. And that's another good point too. They need that variety. They need the introduction of, different vitamins and minerals and different spices and just to, keep the gut bacteria healthy and just to have a lot of balance in their diets. Whereas, with the kibble diet, with that food, they're eating the same thing. They're not getting a variety of microbes and nutrients and, they're just not getting that same variety.
Exactly. And that's a really key thing to know, even for ourselves, but so then for the pets, is variety is so important because all the different microbes that we have in the gut, same with the pets, they all feed on different things. All the microbes don't feed on the same thing. So if you're not switching it up and balancing and having a variety, then you're killing off these microbes that don't have anything to eat. And then that really allows the opportunistic bacteria, the ones that don't really help our bodies, start to grow.
Right.
Because they're almost like they'll eat anything, right? And so that's why it's so important to not necessarily feed your pet the same kibble over and over and over. It is important, even if that's what you choose to eat, to serve, choose to serve that to your pet, that you want your pet to eat, that just kibble, that's fine. But just switch up your proteins and get different stuff because that's really going to help the gut and it helps the pet to be healthier.
Right. Yeah.
And I even do this with our birds. We have 2 birds from your younger sister who has moved out, left the birds. So I even try to switch it up with their pellets and seeds and other things in their diet. They're not just getting a straight pellet because it's just as important across the board variety.
Yeah. Just like I even think about too with our chickens growing up, they were on, their pellet food. That's what they ate every day. But now they're more, they get let out of their pen and they get to go and eat bugs and, dig in the dirt. And whereas they're getting a lot. Yes, they're getting a lot more than than they used to.
Yes.
And
And I would even switch up the brands and bags of, chicken feed to feed them. I tried to always keep it mixed up, and they would get different
additive.
their scratch. And yeah, I mean, we always tried to just mix it up, make it different, and one, see what they really did well on and understand why, what was it, but then just definitely variety, even for our chickens.
Yeah. I think variety is a big takeaway. Yeah. To offer them variety because they need that just as much as we do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one other thing I want to touch on, I want to make sure that with the dry kibble that we're talking about, it's important to also know that if that is what you're feeding, just be aware that once you open that bag and the air starts mixing with that food,
Once it oxidizes.
it starts to oxidize.
Yeah.
Yes, it starts to break it down. It starts to turn it rancid. There really is a time limit on that. And also, then, if you're going to pour it into a different container, and let's say it's a clear container, a plastic container, that is even breaking it down even faster. That light. That's why you buy your dog food in the kind of foil type like bags, and you can't see in them. It's because the light starts to break it down, the air starts to break it down. So it's important to also know there too that if maybe you've been feeding this food for a week and now your dog's turning, or the cat, turning their nose up to it, it might be spoiling.
Yeah.
And you can't smell it or notice it, but their senses are much different, stronger than ours, and they're probably sensing that.
Yeah.
Just something to keep in consideration.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think about like a box of cereal that you leave the bag open, it goes stale. Right? Their kibble can do the same thing.
Definitely.
Yes. So, kind of talking about the raw diet still, you don't still feed the elaborate bowls of food because there are products out there now. I feel like when we first started, there maybe weren't as many products as there are now.
Right. I don't think so either. But I had the time.
Yeah.
I was home,
Yeah.
had you kids, so
We definitely had the time.
had the time to do it. But yeah, as you guys got much older, you left, your sister was still home, things were really changing. And so I just didn't have the time to prepare twice a day completely raw.
Yeah. And so, now there are more options out there if you're looking to feed your dog more of a raw diet, but still able to purchase a product from the store. So that's more often what we do nowadays, but still kind of sprinkling in, maybe some raw eggs or maybe offering some pumpkin puree, just some raw, if you're making chicken for dinner and you have pieces of chicken that you're tossing out, you can toss that into them. There's still some little snacks or some little treats that they can get that aren't processed foods.
Right. Yeah. And that's really what the kibble is. It is the ultra processed food. And you notice that they add all this stuff in, and they've got to add back in all the vitamins and nutrition that was extracted out in the high heat process. So, you know, when I'm looking at treats and even the food, I like to stick to a number of ingredients.
Right.
I want as little ingredients in that food as possible, especially for their treats. If I can get one ingredient, the protein, I am so thrilled. But usually I might get 3, 4 ingredients for their treats. But I want just the bare minimum. I don't want all this other stuff in there.
Yeah.
Just
Fillers, the colors,
all the oils, and they don't need it, just like we don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's touch briefly while we're still talking about the health of our pets. Let's talk a little bit about herbs that we can offer our pets because that's the big thing for you as well.
Yeah.
And something that can be easily forgotten about too.
Yeah.
Their herbs and how they can help and support our pets.
Yes, just even with their daily nutrition, their daily health, but also with ailments. Herbs are fantastic. And I've always got a number of tinctures and supplements and powders and all kinds of stuff. Diarrhea. Sometimes I've got one dog that tends to have a bit of a sensitive stomach. And so if he overeats or if something's just not sitting right with him, he'll have some diarrhea. And so I grab my herb and I mix that in with his next couple of feedings. If it's really bad, then they fast. And they are okay to fast.
Give their digestion a little break.
Just like we are okay if we fast.
Yeah.
The pets are the same. Cats, very different. Actually, a lot of pets, very different. Dogs do very well fasting for 12, I would say probably 24 hours max. Now, keep the liquids, obviously, do not take liquids away. But food, yeah, they can fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I have to really kind of reset his gut, I'll fast him usually for about 12 hours because he's very food oriented. So I feel bad and I know that he really looks forward to his meals. So and then I'll definitely add in the herbs.
Yeah.
Maybe start a little slow, put lots of fluids in his, whether it's broth or warm water. And so yeah, I support them with herbs, with any ailments, mushrooms, which would be the powdered mushrooms.
Okay.
I don't feed them raw store-bought mushrooms. Right. I just use powdered medicinal mushrooms. So that would be like your cordyceps, your reishi. There's so many that they can have.
Yeah.
And then, certainly parsley and like I said before, cilantro. Those are fantastic for their health. And it's interesting, we were just kind of talking about this before we started recording, but in my garden, my dogs like to follow, my cat too, like to follow me into the garden, and my dogs will go and start eating herbs out of the garden. And so it's so interesting that they instinctually are drawn to the things that they need.
Yeah, they're not just being a menace and trying to destroy things. They are, they're selling the herbs and they are, like you said, instinctively deciding that they need to eat them.
Yeah, either for health or for nutrition. Some are really high in vitamins and minerals. So they may be eating it for that, or they may have an upset stomach. And so they're seeking out that flam. So it's really interesting. And I really do pay attention when they are munching on something. What are they munching on? Oh, why is it that plant? And understanding that.
Yeah.
But then I do also sometimes have to limit how much one of my dogs will go out there and eat some of my herbs.
So to overdo it.
Sometimes he will. Yes.
So, but yeah, that's interesting too. Just getting to watch them and see, what they are showing you that they're needing.
Well, they're supplementing themselves with.
And that they have the capability of doing that too.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Well, that's fun to kind of end, talking really about our pets' health kind of on the surface with that piece, because the next piece that I wanted to get into is kind of the unseen world of our pets. It's going to be more about the energetics of our pets, which is a really, really fun piece that we're excited to bring to everyone today. So chatting about the energetics of our pets. And for me, it's kind of this, deeper responsibility of what our pets are here to do and kind of their mission. So a lot of points that we want to touch on here, but one of the main ones is that they want to communicate with us, and they are doing this all the time. And we need to take the extra time to really understand that and start to see and start to notice that. So, kind of talking about the communication aspect from our pets, where do you think we really see this the most?
It's their behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they exhibit to us every day.
Yeah.
Whether it's a high mood, it's a low mood, it's being standoffish, it's hiding, being rambunctious, stealing your food, whatever. I mean, it's all messages.
Yeah.
It's not this random stuff that's just happening and that this pet is just choosing to do.
Right.
Because
They are.
yeah, it's interesting to look at it from a very different perspective that may not be what's really happening. That those actions are messages.
Yeah. And there's a lot that goes into that. But
Yeah.
again, it is taking that time to sit back and really see what your pet is doing. And I know this firsthand with my dog. We are very much, joined at the hip. She is supposed to be my dog, and she will directly reflect my mood. If I'm frustrated or I'm upset or I'm just not in a good mood, she will hide under the bed. She is not to be seen. She may or may not even come out to eat. She is very standoffish. And it's one of those things that's considered a reflection where I have to notice, okay, she's very shut down. She's very shut out from the house, and kind of triggers this introspective moment for myself of checking in and going from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Instead of getting frustrated with your pet, it's the understanding that they are just trying to bring to your awareness to alert you of something that you potentially are doing in your life that may not be serving you in your best interest. Yeah.
And that brings us to one of our points, is that they are mirroring our moods, and they are really there to draw that awareness.
Yes.
They are like this external being outside of us that is mirroring and reflecting what is going on our internal. And again, just that deeper responsibility of what purpose our pets are here to serve.
Yes.
They are here to communicate to us so much more than we realize.
Yeah. They're not just this domesticated creature from outside that we domesticated and brought inside.
Yeah.
Whereas once, yes, they were probably, obviously roaming more, but animals, pets are with us to serve a purpose.
Absolutely.
And we'll touch into this, but the more that I communicate with them, just the more that this is proven.
Yeah.
That they are here to serve us. They're not just living companions. There's a much deeper purpose to them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Being bonded with us.
Yeah. And you see this too, pets and animals are emotional regulators.
Yeah.
And we know that this is true because we have service dogs, we have ESA animals. We have these animals that are specifically trained to behave or to service people in these certain ways.
Yeah.
And it's not that this dog that is a service dog is special and he's the only one that can do it because he's had training. Yes, he's had a lot more of that kind of developed, but all of our pets are doing this. All of our pets can be emotional support, emotional regulators for us. They don't have to have a best to be able to do that.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I take my 2 dogs to work with us, work with me every time I go into work at our business. I bring our 2 dogs. And it just makes a huge difference. One, for the employees, they'll walk through the office and they'll get to interact with the dogs. It just kind of distracts them, brings them out of whatever mood that they might be in. But then also our customers that walk in. Our business tends to, people are coming to our business needing help. And so they're not often in the best mood. Right. And the service, that my husband is in the automotive industry. And so, the people that come in that need his expertise, it's not an inexpensive thing. So they come in, they see the dogs, it just distracts them, it calms them, and it just really makes the atmosphere a lot nicer, a little more gentle, instead of them just coming in and having to deal with what's going on, presently with their problem. Most of the time, people get very distracted and they completely change when they walk in the door, and they are a little different when they leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think too, hearing you give those examples reminds me too that dogs specifically, they just live in the moment. They're very present. They're very, they help us to practice that mindfulness of the present moment. And so, yes, when employees are walking through the office or when customers are coming in and you see this happy animal, it's hard not to want to pet them or say hi to them or acknowledge them. And it pulls you into this exact moment of acknowledging this happy, crazy, silly little dog that's right there at your feet. It really kind of anchors you into the moment and anchors you into, getting out of the stress of what you were just experiencing, and really pulls you into the moment and being present where you are.
Yeah, that's very true.
So I do, I love that you brought that up, because it also kind of points to, animals kind of like their unconditional love. They are constantly here for us, whether we are constantly acknowledging that or aware of that. They are
unconditional. And that's so important to recognize with your own pets, is because it doesn't matter if you just yelled at them or you are kind of brushing them off. You're coming in, you're trying to put your stuff down or whatever. And, they're maybe being annoying or loud or jumping on you, whatever, they'll come right back to you almost in the same state as when you were yelling at them or brushing them off or whatever. They are very present and they are very unconditional. And that just shows, I believe, another way that they are just on a different level than we are. And they're here to serve a different function than people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings me to another one of our points, is that our pets are on different energetic level than we are.
Yes.
Which tells us, clearly that they are here to serve a different purpose.
Yes.
They are, they're on a different energetic frequency.
Yeah, they're not on the same learning path that we are. They are here to assist us on our learning path. They are here for that unconditional attention and love. And we can kind of see that they're on this different frequency level than we are, because their eyesight is so different. They see different colors than we can see. And their hearing, they hear different frequencies than we do. So why would they energetically not be on a different frequency than we are? Which just, again, I believe points to that their job is different than our job. We are here on earth to experience, to grow, to learn, to go through the hardships, to experience life. And they are, as you mentioned several times, to mirror some of our challenges to help us grow and learn through them.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about pets kind of as like soul companions. I think too, what we're going to be touching on, shortly in the episode here is how connected animals are to us, and how they choose someone specific in the house to be connected to. So kind of that individual connection to someone in the household, but then also kind of that soul companion aspect too, I want to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I know very, very easily, very certainly that my dog is directly connected to me. And then we found out just recently as well that our cat is connected to my husband. And I had this kitty before I met him, but he shared a message with you that he came to me to find my husband. Otherwise, he would have never been connected with my husband because my husband grew up with 0 pets. He never had.
That was not on his radar.
Was not on his radar.
Okay.
And we laugh about this now, knowing this, that, I got your cat before you found him, but he was really here for you. He knew you were in my sphere. Yes. Yes, I had this kitty for about 5 or 6 months before I met my husband. But our animals, and you know this too, you know which dog you connect with the most, or which one connects with, your sister the most, or whoever, because they do.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about that connection specific from one person to an animal.
Yeah, the animals really do have that one person that they are energetically connected to. Now, they may prefer to follow somebody else around the house, but energetically kind of mirroring and almost giving energetic therapy to, it is more times than not just one person in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny with you calling this, the soul companion, is early on when I was kind of learning animal energetics, this one lady that I was learning from just on her online courses, one of her videos that I was watching, she was talking about that she has this golden retriever, and I believe it was like the 5th golden retriever that she had, but every single one of them would have the same name. And she said it's because it's the same dog coming back time and time and time again. So it's Honey.
Yeah.
And she may go a couple years between Honey being physically with her, but she would always know when Honey was, if she had, physically had to say goodbye to Honey, that later on she would be getting these subtle messages that the Honey in the new body would be coming to her. And I just, I've seen it time and time again.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a very real thing. Our energetically connected soul companion can come back to us, and it doesn't have to be in the same form. They can come back in a different animal form.
Right. Yeah. I know that is so special. Just to know that possibility is out there. And yeah, just the number of dogs that she's had. I remember that story when you first started out, and it's really sweet. It's really special. Yeah. Do you feel that you've had any animals that have come back to you?
Yes, definitely.
You want to share any of those stories?
Well, my newest companion that I have,
Your most recent.
is definitely, and he hunted me down on Facebook. I'm not a big Facebook user, but I would get on every once in a while just to check, family pictures and things like that. And this little dog popped up on my feed. He was the first thing I saw anytime I would get on Facebook for weeks. This little puppy kept popping up. And finally, after I think 2 weeks of this, I went and told my husband, I was like, this little doggy is talking to us.
Yeah.
And this is our little doggy.
Yeah.
We were down to one dog.
Mm.
And I was so content with that.
Right.
I was so happy. I was like, this is it. That one dog household. This feels good. And we were that for a little time. And then this little puppy just kept popping up. Didn't know the people, had no association. He just somehow found my feed. And I knew, because he was a mix of our two favorite dogs that we had lost, had to say goodbye to several years earlier. And he was the mix of the two. And then he was the color of one of my early favorite dogs.
Yeah.
And so he just was this whole package of a lot of memories for us. And so got him, supposed to be my husband's dog. We got him on Father's Day, or that weekend. Supposed to be for my husband. But no, he absolutely was mine.
Immediately. And still to this day, there is zero doubt that he came back to this earth to find you.
Yes.
Zero doubt. Even when we went out to dinner, this was months ago, and Dad had the dogs with him, and he got to the restaurant before us, and he was sitting out on the patio with them. And he was being so calm. He was relaxed. He was sitting in the seat. The moment we get to the restaurant, and he is just a huge ball of energy, cannot settle down. His tail is just going at a million miles a minute. And Dad's like, he was perfectly fine before you got here. And just your presence, you two being together, he's just so happy. Yeah.
Yes. And you know what's funny too? And I'm just realizing this, thinking about this now. I want to say 95, maybe 98% of our animals just came to us, just found us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're not people that shopped for dogs.
No.
Or shopped for animals. And we bought him the first time.
We did. Okay, right.
Is that not
We did.
funny?
Yeah.
We bought him the first time, which again is just not something that we ever.
Right. We never really needed to do. We lived in the country. There were plenty of stray dogs, or people having to get rid of dogs, or however that worked out. Yeah.
So they always just found us.
Yeah.
But yeah, we bought him.
Yeah.
And he passed on. And then, did you buy him again? You
Yeah.
pays like a smaller amount, right?
Yeah.
But you bought him again.
Yeah.
And so these are the only 2 dogs
Yeah.
we've ever bought with money.
Right. Yeah.
And it was him coming back. There you go.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
So funny.
Yeah.
So funny. But again, just shows that there's too many coincidences for these to be coincidences.
Yeah. 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 And I talked to him too, to find out why did he come back? One, he chose his name the second time, the dog that we have now. Because we were just going back and forth on all of these names, and nothing just seemed to fit him. And so I was like, oh, well, let me tune in and see what he wants his name to be. And so he picked a name, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I could see myself calling you that, which was Hermes. He'd said Hermes. I was like, I just don't know. And as soon as that doubt was coming in my mind, he was like, oh, well, here's this one. And it was Artemis. I was like, oh, okay. And so I was not familiar with the name Artemis, so I had to go look it up. And it is a female god or goddess, but there is also a masculine spelling. And so that's what is the way that I spell his name. So he is Artemis, and he is just, my little fantastic lab Australian Shepherd mix.
Yeah.
So very playful, very high strung,
Very unusual.
which was the dog before him was Ozzy, which was the Australian Shepherd. And he was the one that was hit by a car. And so he had lots of issues. He wasn't really able to run as much as he would like to because he completely shattered his pelvis. He had to have plates and rods in both sides of his pelvis. And then there was an area of the pelvis that they just couldn't even get to fix. It was just going to have to heal on its own as much as it would. So he always had some difficulties. And so when I tuned into Artemis and asked, why did you come back? And he just gave me a word, and it was legs. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to get paralyzed? What does legs mean? And so I'm just like, oh my gosh, what is that message? And it was like 2 weeks later, my husband and Artemis were out in the yard playing. He just loves to run and fetch balls and frisbees, and he's very agile.
Very agile.
Very. And I'm just sitting on the bench and I'm watching my husband throwing his toys, and this dog is just racing as fast as he can and leaping in the air. And then I was like, legs.
Yeah.
Ozzy could not do this.
Could not.
Could not run at that speed, could not jump, just couldn't do it. And so he had to come back in this very agile body to do what he wanted to do for all those years. He's just beautiful.
So beautiful.
It made so much sense. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's incredible. The story of Artemis is, man, one of my favorite.
It's a precious story, and I think largely too because I'm in a very different space.
Yes.
Than with the others. I was not energetically attuned. And so I just didn't understand the scope of the pets.
Yeah.
Like I do now.
Right.
And so it just adds just this beautiful new layer.
It's really, really fun. And now we're at the point of the episode where I wanted to kind of blend these two things together. So we're talking about the health of our pets, and we're also talking about the energetics of our pets and the roles that they serve in our home. But one of the fun things that you're really digging into really recently is the correlation between our pets' illnesses reflecting human behaviors or human illnesses.
Yes.
And so I want to get into that and just talk about, again, just how our actions and behaviors are feeding into our pets and ultimately causing some illnesses in them.
Yeah. And they really do. I mean, I can look back on our pets that have passed and see who they were connected to, how they passed, and how closely it relates to their energetically connected human and their illnesses or their symptoms. It's very, very eye-opening that they are to serve us, one, in trying to help us process and move through certain things. And it's important because these certain things make us ill. They create disease in our body. It starts in the energetics, but this energy, as we've talked to before, has to manifest. It has to move and do something. And so it manifests into the physical ailment.
Yeah.
And so these pets, if we are not working on and moving through this energetic stuff that's going to manifest physically, these pets try to take that load from us. One, they try and show us, look, this is what's happening, and this is going to create illness. And if we're not aware to that and working on that, then our pets take that first. And they start absorbing that sick energy. That load, they take it from us to prolong us, to try and help us come to the realization of what is happening. And I can see that with the pets that we've had.
Yeah. Yeah, really kind of going back and from and looking at these pets and looking at these animals from a completely different perspective, and all their experiences and reasons or ways that they've passed, and how they are tied to us energetically, and how you know us as people play into their lives.
And the health. Yep. Yeah. And it's not just the dogs, obviously, it's the cats, it's the horses, it's birds, it's fish, it's snakes, it's turtles, I mean, it's all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we do have energetic ties to all of these animals. Just like for someone like you that has lots of animals, lots of pets, you have multiple that are tied to you or connected to you that are here to teach you or show you something different.
Yes.
So it's not that you can only have one. They're here to each tell us something different.
Well, and they may come in different stages. So, and they'll show up to teach different lessons, yeah, just like you were pointing out. So, a horse that I had that taught me so many lessons, so many. And then through all of that, then a dog will come in and teach completely different lessons. And then the cats. And it's interesting to see that, yes, there can be multiple that are teaching different lessons.
Right.
And you got to tune in to each of them individually to see what they are there to serve.
Mm-hmm. And again, I feel like what we say in a lot of our episodes is that it's another practice. Tuning into them and practicing seeing what they're pointing out to us. And it's also a fun aspect too that you do these readings for our pets. So you can connect with, a dog's energy or someone's cat's energy and communicate with them and pull out messages or, what their purpose is, what they're telling you that their purpose is, and, common reflections that they're finding, and, chewing on shoes or stealing shoes or, whatever it could be. And you have practice sitting with them and energetically communicating with them and pulling and receiving messages from them that you're then able to offer and to give to their owners.
Yeah. To try and help everybody out.
Yeah. 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 Because as we start to shift, these ailments in us and in our pets can energetically begin to clear. And that is your goal. Your goal is to help the person, to help their pet, and it just clears up that energetic stagnation or that energetic illness in both of them.
Definitely. Once we start clearing this stuff and understanding this stuff within ourselves, then the pets start changing. Their behaviors can change. Their health can change. It's just so interesting, to really see how it all plays together. And it really, truly does.
Yeah. And it's, if you're not super into the energetics or things like that, I still find it very fun to ask you, hey, can you connect with my kitty? Can you see what's going on? I mean, I remember this time that he was constantly pottying outside of the litter box and it was driving me nuts. And I came to my mom and I said, can you please connect with him and just ask him what's going on? Does he need something? Is something going on health-wise? why is he doing this? Because it was almost every day that this was happening. So I said, okay, something is going on. You need something. And you tune into him and ask him, what's going on? Why are you potting outside the litter box? Then he shares with you, it's really dark. And, later, I think it was later that week, you come to me and you ask, are there any lights in the laundry room? You tell me it's very dark and he feels very cramped. And we had a litter box that had a lid on top. And he is a long kitty,
Very tall, long.
very tall, very long. And I was like, yeah, their litter box is in the laundry room, the light's off, there's a lid on top. Okay, I can see. He's probably cramped. So I take the lid off. Immediately, he stopped pottying outside of the litter box. Even now I still think, oh, I need to get just like a little battery powered lamp to get in there so that he can have just a little bit extra light. But he has not pottied outside of the litter box since I took that loon off.
Yeah.
That was immediate. That was exactly his issue. And then I've even asked you too, because he's on a medicated food for his urinary health, because he struggles very quickly. If I switch his food, he struggles with urinary issues. And I always ask you to ask him about, or you always ask him about his food. And he just always says, yes, it's okay. It's okay. He doesn't love it, but whatever, he eats it. And I always think that's so funny that.
And he says that about everything. It's very so. Well, he is. It's so. He said it about the litter, because I was like, "Is this a litter problem?" He's like, "No, litter's okay. I don't love it because it's the little balls, it's
Little
the crystals." And he's like, "It's. I don't love it, but it's okay. The other cat in the house, she's fine with it.
She doesn't care.
She doesn't care." But yeah, he's always like that. It's so funny, but. With that story, he was also pottying on the rug in your entry hall. So it wasn't just outside his litter box. He was then also doing his business on the rug in the hallway.
I forgot about.
Yeah. And so what he was showing me was with the litter box is that what he first started showing me is he was spinning in a circle. He would just go in a circle, circle, circle. And then he showed me the litter box. He couldn't circle in the litter box. And basically, when he entered in, he would also have to back out. And he did not like it. He did not fit in his litter box. And it was sad.
Yeah. And so immediately after you told me that, I immediately took it off because, yeah, just that picture of him just not being able to move around the litter box, I felt so mad. And our other kitty was so tiny, petite, so it didn't matter. But he was, I think, double her size.
Yeah.
Triple her size even.
He's a large kitty. And not fat. He's super thin. He's just long and tall.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But no, I immediately took the lid off and it immediately resolved the issue. And
Yeah.
it's kind of just that piece of knowing, okay, I can communicate with you anytime I need to. We can't use the same language, but you and vice versa, you can communicate with me as often as you need to. And it's just really seeing our pets for being these beings that have thoughts and feelings and lives, needs, and all of the things that you have such a different perspective and a different appreciation for them. And it's so special. And so I definitely encourage anyone listening to this episode, if you're interested in just kind of getting a little download on your pet and seeing how they're feeling, what they're up to, what they need, what they want from you, what you need from them, I highly recommend to book a reading with you, because it's one of my favorite thing. I mean, if I could come to you once a week and say, hey, tonight, can you talk to Lou for me and just ask her what this was all about? And just to be able to have that, that connection with them, it's so fun.
Well, it's also very interesting too, because I've done some readings for your sister's dogs as well. And she's also said the same thing, is that once I've done the reading, the pets they're displaying different.
Yeah. They feel like relief, like
They
got
got heard.
yeah, they got this message across.
Yes. Yeah. And they start acting different. And it's so interesting to just immediately see after this communication that the pet is totally
Yeah.
being a little different.
I mean, just recently, our kitty was throwing up multiple days in a row, and I was not sure what was going on. And you had sat down and you had had a little reading with him. And again, you can do these readings remote. You don't have to be with them physically. But you had a reading with him, and there was some energetic stuff circling around my husband because he's tied to my husband.
That's when we found out
Yeah.
all of this, that he was tied to your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah. How all that happened.
How he found me to come to him eventually. Yes. But as soon as you relay that message to my husband, he has not thrown up since. And these random acts or these weird things, it's not just, oh, they're being weird. They are actively trying to tell us something.
Yeah.
And then it's our job to investigate and discover what it is.
It is our job to tune in and see what they're trying to tell us, what area in our life is what they're reflecting to us, telling us, and then it is our responsibility to know that for ourselves, that it's important to be working through it. And then in turn, it helps our pet soul companion. Yeah. I did a reading for your sister on her little dog, and I forget exactly how it came about, but her little dog, I relayed to her that when you come home, that she's constantly jumping up and down, up and down, up and down as you're, trying to walk in the door and come in. And I said she's doing this for two reasons. One, she lives in a house of very large dogs. She's the only small dog. And so she has to be doing this to be seen above these larger dogs that she's having to compete attention for. But energetically, she is doing this because you are walking in, and the way I saw it was that her aura was very slanted and it was not cohesive. And so with her jumping up and down, that was her aligning this aura. It was bringing it somewhat back into balance. So she was jumping up and down almost like in a straight line, if you can visualize that, to bring this aura, kind of help clear it. And that her, that was the purpose of that. And so now that your sister kind of understands that, she can now kind of relax into, one, recognizing, is she doing this every single time I'm coming home? Does she have to do this for a long time or just a little bit? She can really kind of start understanding her alignment and focusing on what's throwing it off, how to keep it more in a line, all the things that go with that. She's now a little bit more aware and can watch her dog reflect this to her on how she's doing or how she's not focusing on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is really interesting when you take the time to really understand that, yes, this is very real and that their energies are very closely tied to us.
Yes. And they see the things and can sense the things that we cannot. And that's where it's just even more magical to be able to tune in.
Yeah.
And start reflecting on that.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit too about Reiki for pets and kind of like some of these healing modalities that we use for ourselves, but we can also use for our pets too.
Definitely. Yes, energy healing, just as we use it for ourselves, acupuncture, acupressure, pets benefit from that as well. Chiropractics, they absolutely benefit from that.
Yeah. And that's funny because that is an increasing trend on social media too, is seeing these animal chiropractors.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Real.
it is. It's very real. They love crystals.
Yeah.
Sometimes they will go and lick on it or rub on it. They can be toxic, just like to people. Crystals, you should not consume. Others are extremely safe. You can put them in your water and
Yeah.
be energized, or however that crystal's going to help. So, so they are very in tune with that stuff energetically as well. So energy healing is no different. They love it. They benefit from it. They can feel it. They can sense it. Just like people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that so much. Is there anything to kind of close out this episode before we jump into our balance?
There's just so many stories that
There's so many stories. Are there any more on top of your mind that you want to share with our listeners today? Personally, I think every single one of them are very fun because
they all have great messages.
messages. Yes. What's maybe one of your favorites?
Well, I don't know about favorite, but I think I'm going to share this. I've kind of contemplated on the drive here, but just with the recent loss that I had, and just as I am grieving this loss of a very special horse.
Yeah.
She's physically gone, but I talk to her every day.
Yeah.
And she's continuing to bring me messages of what she has taught me. And I'm in awe that she continues to teach me.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing there is though, well, two things. I'm allowing myself this grief. I'm really tuning into it. I'm really feeling it. I'm not staying in it.
Yeah.
I'm appreciating it and processing it and letting it run its cycle. But every day when I get in these moments of sadness, of grief, of really feeling that heartbreak, she's speaking to me. These messages are coming in.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. And so just really to know that even if the beloved pet is physically not here, that doesn't mean necessarily that the messages and the learning from them has to stop. And she is showing me this. And that was one of the things that I think when it all was kind of starting was maybe a bit so hard for me, was because I felt like we had been through so much, but yet I have so much more.
Right.
And I thought that it was going to be done, her, helping me and teaching me and all of her messages. And, she was able to share with me that I have moved through so much. And even though, yes, I'm still moving through it, I see where I'm going now. I'm not quagmired in what I've been working through. I can see the other side, and I've come so far. And she's, continually teaching me to not forget that. But yes, she's still teaching me.
Yeah. And how special that you get to sit with her energy and talk to her still.
Yes,
I love that.
I do too.
And it is such an interesting position that you're in where, we have the physical and we have the spiritual. And while she's not here in the physical anymore, you don't get to see her in that way. You do still get this connection with her. And you do still have that, Yeah, and that's incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, she was with me 18 years.
18 years.
And the message she just showed me today, is it today? Yesterday? Yesterday is the message she shared with me yesterday, was that my soul companion dog is her color. They were both chocolate, that just beautiful chocolate brown.
Rich chocolate.
She shared with me yesterday that they are the same color. And so anytime that I look at him, or if I, am petting him, just to envision that that's also her.
Yeah. Oh, that's so sweet.
Yes. And so, I mean, he was laying feet in front of me when this message is coming through, and I was just in awe that she's still just helping me.
Yeah.
And to trust it. That's a big thing, is just to allow these messages coming in, to recognize them, to process them, but to trust them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about that so much too. Trusting our intuition and trusting these messages or these thoughts that pop into our minds. Trusting that initial instinct that this idea or this thought was brought to you for a reason, and to practice kicking off that logical part of the brain that wants to kick up and say, no, well, that's not actually real, or no, this can't be it.
Making it up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Start to tamper that down and trust that intuition.
Yes. And the more you do, the more it really will just start to flow. And it'll be easier to hear those messages and trust those messages.
Yeah. And I think that's a great piece of our balance too.
Yes.
Is to, just come from that love for them and trust that they are here to help us and love us and guide us and send us all these messages, even when they're not in the physical realm with us anymore, even when they're not in the physical. And yes, they're still around us. And even once they have passed on, their energy can still orbit us and eventually find their ways back.
And come back. Yes. And she said that she will be back. She will come back.
I don't doubt that.
No, not as a horse, is what she told me, but she will be back. And I really want to put this in our balance, that anybody can do this.
Mhm.
You can talk to your pet. You can connect to your pet. You can verbally, out loud, talk with your pet, and just see what pops in your head, and trust that and keep building on that. If it is loving and supportive and assurance and just those feel good thoughts and processing and moving forward, trust that.
Yeah.
That is real, and anybody can do it.
Yeah.
If you want to just communicate telepathically, just with, I've heard that they do well with just pictures. So if you just form pictures in your mind and send that to them, whether it's a heart, you would just want to say, I love you. Just, picture a heart and send that to them.
Yeah.
That they receive that much easier than words. Yes. So there's so many different ways, and do it. Everybody should be talking and communicating and receiving from their pet and working together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They care for us so much more than we really realize.
Yes.
They do. They are here for so much. Yeah, for so much. And our pets are more than just, beings that we have to care for, and we have to feed, and we have to walk, and we have to do this and do that. They're so much more than that.
They are so much more than that.
Really.
And to appreciate them in that light just changes a lot.
Yeah.
For them and for you. They become even more of a therapy type animal.
And I love it so much.
Yes. They're fantastic. Everybody that has a pet, go and hug your pet,
Love your pet.
Love honesty.
Send them pictures.
Yes, I love that. I'm going to start practicing that.
And tune in. Listen to them. Let them help you more than just the physical ways. And as always, if there's any questions,
Yes.
definitely reach out to us. We love talking pet health. We love talking about raw food. And
Yeah, pet health is a big conversation that we like to have with a lot of people because it's not something that people really pay too much attention to, not necessarily. And, like we said at the beginning of the episode, I think things are certainly changing in that aspect, but there's so much more to it.
there's so much more.
Just changing their diet and really just scratching the surface there. They are wonderful, beautiful, energetic beings that we are so lucky to have in our lives. And we should start fully treating them that way.
Definitely. And there is something that we really didn't touch on that I feel like we have to is the wild animals. We really didn't bring them in. And I just want to touch on that because they are also just as important and they do also reflect to us.
Yeah.
And so it's important just to pick up those pieces from them as well. And this is almost just like a basic podcast topic today. We will get more in depth with the energetic side of our pets and what they're really doing for us and really dive a lot deeper in that. But this is just to kind of lay that foundation, let people kind of start percolating this and get familiar with a little bit of what we're talking about. And so hopefully when those deeper conversations come out, that they will be received a lot more. But the wild animals, the hummingbirds, the bees, the ants, spiders, they all have their meaning when they come into our awareness.
Yeah.
And so just to know that piece of it.
Yeah.
But also briefly what we talked about at the very beginning before we hit record was even the foods that we offer the wildlife is just as important as what we're feeding our domesticated pets.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned hummingbirds. People love hummingbirds. They're beautiful. They are gorgeous. But what are we feeding them? We're feeding them dyed sugar water. I mean, that's what they need, but do they need the dye?
Yep. They're not going to go, select dye.
Yes.
Red dyed food.
As we are cycling out of feeding ourselves these red dyed foods or just colors in general. Yeah, we have to think about too all of those bottles of hummingbird food that are on the shelves, wherever you may get that from.
Yeah.
Oof, that's definitely something to look at.
Yep. Just regular sugar water. There's lots of recipes out there, even more easy to make. Yep. A lot cheaper probably than having to buy a jug of it. So just even those things. And we had also mentioned the ducks.
Yeah, people toss out crackers or bread or, whatever it is. Why is bread the thing that we think, oh, I need to run into the house and go get some bread so I can feed
that they need this bread.
Why? Where did that come from?
Yeah, they don't need the ultra processed white or even the whole grain bread that is not in their diet. And so just to be even aware of those things.
Yeah. Of the junk and the processed foods that, we just think so absently of, just tossing it out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or that their diet should be like our diet.
Right.
And it's not.
And where did that come from?
We are all so different. And so, the wildlife is
just as important as dog and cats. I mean, we really were chatting about domestic animals because I feel like it's so much easier to relate to. But yeah, definitely didn't want to leave out the piece that today's episode really does correlate to any animals on their spectrum.
Yeah.
And it will be really fun to go more in depth on this episode and talk, about ants and spiders and snakes and, more like the energetics behind those creepy, scary,
bugs, animal, what they're mirroring, what they're reflecting, because they are coming with a message.
and we have some fun stories on those.
Yes. It's I just love finding what those messages are. That's a lot of fun. And then just having the gratitude that they brought that to my awareness, whether it's domesticated or the wildlife, and just working on that. It's so much fun.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, we can't leave out one of our favorite parts in every single episode. We pull an oracle card at the beginning of our recordings, and we allow the card just to sit with us and sit with our conversation. And we are always so excited to reveal the message at the end of the episode to ourselves and to our listeners, just to leave everyone with a final message. Kind of helps to wrap up our episode and give you a little piece just to stick in the back of your mind and continue to mull over and think on as you're leaving this episode today.
Until we meet again.
And our definitely pull from today is our key elements deck. And the card we fold is yes. And the deeper message is to allow. The answer is yes. Free will can influence outcomes, your intuition and discernment, as there may be layers of information unfolding. Wow. I love that. As there's layers of information unfolding. I do truly believe that this episode is really pulling forward a completely different perspective. I mean, that is our goal with every episode, but for this one specifically, I feel is really bringing something new to our listeners.
Yes, look at the layers of ingredients, understanding the ingredients in your pet's foods. From bird food, reptile food, to dog food, cat food, horse food, livestock, all of it. Just look at your ingredients.
Yeah.
See what layers you uncover there. Wildlife food, look at that. And then into the energetics, there's a lot of layers there.
Yeah. And as the card says, to allow these layers to unfold, allow your knowledge in this episode to really expand into deeper thinking outside of today's episode, because we really are just trying to scratch the surface on this. I do feel like it was a pretty in-depth episode, but truthfully, it is just the beginning.
It is.
And today's one that I was really excited to record.
Yeah, you've been pushing for this one, and I'm like, well, I think we need to do this one first, or we need to talk about this first, and you just kept pushing. I really think it's this one, Mom. And so it was like, okay, we'll record it.
This is a wonderful episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening to today's episode. As you mentioned earlier, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. And if you'd like to book a pet-centered reading with Stacy, I highly recommend to do that.
Thank you.
It truthfully is one of my favorite things, and I like to bring this up to as many people as possible because I want them to also do it and just have that little piece of extra communication with your animals and just kind of check in on an energetic level and see what's going on for them and for you.
That's what I was going to say. It brings things through for them, and it brings things through for you.
Yeah.
And then they cross over and they can help both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you everyone for listening. And until next time, Be well.
and be balanced.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. This episode is for educational purposes only. The information is not intended to give medical advice or therapy. Please consult with a licensed healthcare provider before making any changes to your health regimen. Also know that you are responsible for your life choices and circumstances. Until next time,
Be well.
and be balanced. Bye.
Bye.